Breaking tonight, at least 31 migrants, including 5 women and a girl attempting to cross the English Channel, have reportedly drowned today. The Home Secretary tweeted, "My thoughts are with the families of all of those who have tragically lost their lives in French waters today. It serves as the starkest possible reminder of the dangers of these channel crossings organised by ruthless criminal gangs." Now, look, I agree with Priti Patel. More does need to stop the senseless death that we saw today by preventing illegal human traffickers from putting people's lives at risk in the first place. And as I said on the show yesterday, I believe the illegal migrant crisis is now a national emergency. Surely this tragedy today only reinforces that point. It makes a total mockery, this crisis, of our legal immigration system, and it also it puts the safety of the British public at risk too, which is just totally unacceptable. According to a YouGov tracker poll, 34% of people in Britain now see immigration and asylum as one of the 3 most important issues facing the country. So, should the British government declare the migrant crisis a national emergency officially? You can vote in our poll right now at GBNews on Twitter, or dan@gbnews.uk if you want to email me. But to debate now, to help you make your decision, I'm joined by Chairman of Migration Watch UK, Alp Mehmet, and Amnesty UK Refugee and Migrant Rights Programme Director, Steve Valdez-Simons. Alp, this tragedy today surely proves that the boats have to be stopped.
Absolutely. We've been saying that, I've been saying that for months and months now. If we want to save lives, we've got to stop the boats. There's no other way of doing it. For so long as people believe that they're going to get here and having reached the UK, they will stay here, be permitted to stay here, I'm afraid they will continue to come. And not only will they continue to come, but they will go up in numbers. That I would stake all sorts of things on. That will happen whether we like it or not. Until we show that it won't work, that getting to this country illegally will not allow you to stay here indefinitely, as is happening at the moment, you will keep coming.
Steve, what's wrong with what Alp and I are saying? What do you disagree with?
Firstly, there's nothing illegal about people seeking asylum by crossing a border without permission.
But that already in France,
that is the international law system.
But Steve, can I just clarify? Do you accept? Sorry, Steve, you can make your second point in 1 second, but I just want to clarify the first point. Do you accept that the people who are dying on the Channel and crossing the Channel in small boats already have asylum according to international law in France, a first world country?
No, and let's just make this absolutely clear. The circumstances of the people who make these journeys, unlike the great majority of people who are provided asylum in France, are woeful and desperate. They involve squalor, violence, often on a daily basis, and so there is thoroughly good reason for them to choose to seek asylum in this country rather than in France. And they are perfectly entitled to do so. And the fact that we make absolutely no provision for anyone to make a pre-authorized journey to come here to seek asylum only underscores why people make these dangerous journeys. And that brings us to the second point, which is that if we wish to stop horrible, horrific journeys like this, which I agree we should all want to see the end of, the only lawful and effective way of doing that is to provide people a safe alternative. And if we are not going to share responsibility by permitting some people to come here...
Is that open borders? That's what you're proposing, Steve? Because the British public don't want that.
There are a relatively small number of people in northern France who would wish to come here to seek asylum. We could certainly start by speaking to the French, identifying a good number of them to receive to our country and our asylum
Steve,
system.
let me bring Alp back on that. Alp, isn't that just going to exacerbate the problem?
Well, far be it for you to put words in my mouth, Dan.
I'd never do that.
Yes, of course it will. The more people see that it's possible to get here, the sooner it will become overwhelmed, frankly. If people know that they will get to northern France and at that point they will be considered for asylum, we will have hundreds of thousands of people descending. We already have, frankly. There are 4 million and more people in the EU already who are looking for asylum. And let me just remind Steve that it was only in August this year that Ylva Johansson, the EU commissioner, the vice president, in fact, said that the vast majority of those who are seeking asylum are not refugees. She said that, not me.
Steve, how do you respond to that?
Well, firstly, it's utter nonsense that there are 4 million people in the EU seeking asylum, and it really doesn't help to make up statistics like that. Let's look at real statistics. The Home Office publishes them, as does the EU, as does the UN Refugee Agency. If we look at the data concerning this country, for example, and look at the people who have crossed the Channel over the last couple of years, we see that 2/3 and more of them, and an increasing proportion of them year on year, are indeed refugees and are found to be refugees. So no, we should deal with the data and the facts as they are and understand that if we will not share responsibility for providing asylum, and we don't, France and other countries receive many more people into their systems than do we. If we will not do our bit, we will see more journeys like this, and I'm sorry to say, many more deaths of people.
Australia stopped the boats, and they did it by offshore processing. I have been advocating for offshore processing for some time. It is the biggest deterrent. I think that's what will stop the deaths. Do you agree? Do you agree, Alp?
Do I agree? I'm sorry.
Is offshore processing the solution?
Well, look, first of all, on the point that Steve made on the 4 million, they're not my figures. I haven't made those up, if you don't mind. They are actually EU figures, and that was for 2017.
OK. We can take a look at those figures after. But Alp, I want to talk about solutions. I think offshore processing, rather than an open borders policy, which is what Steve is advocating, is what will stop the boats. What do you think will stop the boats, Alp?
The only thing that will stop the boats if we show that it doesn't work. Offshore processing, yeah, I have no problem with that. It's what happens afterwards at the end of the process. Will they then be returned to wherever they came from, or will the people involved be returned to their countries of origin? Unless you make those sort of decisions...
the asylum system has to be sorted too, doesn't it? We've got the Home Secretary saying it's a complete mess. Well, I'm sorry, Pretty. It's up to you to resolve it. Final word to you, Steve.
Well, just let's think about offshore processing. The Australian government has spent literally billions of Australian dollars doing untold cruelty, quite frankly, to a relatively small number of people. And no, Australia has not seen an end to people coming to that country to seek asylum.
It stopped the boats, Steve, it did. Within 2 years, the boats stopped. And you know what? What is most cruel is allowing the people smuggling gangs to get a hold of this situation and to transport these poor folk into the Channel where they can drown in large numbers like we saw today. Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.